Welcome to the Be Smart podcast, how not to be a ding dong with your money. This is the post Nashville podcast. But Jared, you also went to Ohio, I believe, correct?
Yeah, went to Dayton, Ohio to see my brother's bodybuilding competition.
Oh, he must work out. Did he win?
He won his age group.
Oh, good.
So he's 55 and he won the over 40.
That's pretty impressive.
And he came in like fourth or fifth overall. So
nice. Well, congrats to him. Let's get into Nashville a little bit. I want to kind of go over the highlights of the trip and roll some footage for people who are viewing on YouTube. But we'll start with you. What were your highlights of the trip?
Well, I mean, obviously the party. It was pretty great. It did, I sold a lot of tickets, but there were a lot of no shows, so that was a little bit of a bummer. But it did fill up about halfway through. The music was great. The club invited me back to play, which is fantastic. It's a super cool club. It's called Night We Met. If you're ever in Nashville, you should check it out. Great sound system. The music sounded great in there. Great DJ booth. It was ideal. It was terrific.
Yeah, I was there for your 4-hour set, the whole thing, and you killed it. So you think they're going to get you in the main room here soon?
Yeah, I think that's a distinct possibility. Yeah.
I'm going to roll through some of my highlights, starting with the food. The Nashville hot chicken, which was fantastic, but it's one of those things where you're going to need a nearby toilet for sure, even for the mild variety. It is punishment. And then we ate at Villa Castriati, which is also where you had your book signing, and it was the best chicken piccata I have ever had. No BS. Speaking of your book signing, you signed my copies of Rule 62, and then All the Evil of This World, and Street Freak, which I got in hardcover. Now, I want to settle a debate because you told me after reading Rule 62, I should read All the Evil of This World next. But Ed and Laura were trying to tell me that I should for sure read Street Freak next. Now, naturally, I'm going to gravitate toward the author on this, but what are your thoughts on that?
I mean, they're both great books for different reasons. I mean, the reason I suggested All the Evil of This World to you is because you're a writing MFA. You can appreciate the writing. And it's very postmodern. Like it's really an anti-plot sort of book. Like most stories have a protagonist and they follow this protagonist through the arc and the trials and tribulations, and you get to the end and there's a happy ending. There's no arc at all here. It is just loathing throughout the entire book, So it's, like I said, it's anti-plot, and it's, this book, out of all my books, got the lowest Amazon reviews, right? If you ever see a book with a 4-star Amazon review, it is probably a bad book, okay? Because Amazon kind of weights the Amazon reviews, and they have this like complicated formula. But if a book that has 4 stars is probably not a good book. This book had 3.8 at one point. Now it has 4. People didn't get it. Like they didn't get it. They're like, I don't see the point. Like it's just a bunch of people getting like wasted and screwing around all the time. Like I don't understand the point of the book, but you would understand it.
Like an exception to your 4-star rule, I'm looking at Airships as a 3.7, which is blasphemous.
Yes.
That's insane. I mean, how is that a 3.7?
Yeah.
And then also the last thing I wanted to mention from Nashville, across the street from Villa Castriati is the notorious Wild Beaver Saloon, the perfect place to go if you want to get catapulted off a mechanical bull and land in a pile of wild turkey. You ever been there?
No, I haven't gone in there. No,
we didn't go in there, but I'll throw up a picture of the sign. It's pretty hilarious. Speaking of books, if you could add one signed collection to your copy, what would it be?
That's a good question.
I asked because I'm starting to accumulate a good amount here. I've got now 3 from you. I've got a Barry Hannah, a George Saunders, and a George Pelicanos. So
I
getting up
mean,
there.
probably a Raymond Carver, but he's been dead for 37 years, you know.
Yeah. I would say my number one would be a first edition Infinite Jest, David Foster Wallace. And I looked him up last night. The cheapest one you can possibly find is $2,000.
$2,000. Wow.
All right. Do you want to get into markets and go over some market headlines?
Sure.
Let's start with the Powell and Trump news. So our first headline, how Bessent made the case to Trump against firing Fed Chair Powell. Bessent said firing Powell was unnecessary because the economy is doing well and markets have responded positively to the president's policies. He also reminded Trump that Fed officials have signaled they could cut rates twice before year's end. Then there's the whole political and legal backlash to consider. Obviously, there's a lot of talk out there that Trump's going to fire Powell, but he's only got 10 months left as chairman. I don't really see it happening, but what are your thoughts on all this noise? Do you think this is kind of a classic case of Trump distraction from perhaps the Epstein files and the dark cloud that's over that?
Polymarket has a 22% chance of Powell getting fired, which I actually think is a little high. I don't think he's going to get fired. I wrote tomorrow's newsletter today. I talk a little bit about that. Like you said, the economy is doing well, and if you fire Powell, it's going to cause all kinds of disruptions. If he fires Powell, gold and silver are going to go parabolic, like absolutely parabolic. They're breaking out today, and gold is trading at 3,400, silver is trading at $39. Platinum and palladium are up. The metals are going to go bananas if Powell gets fired. There's this research outfit called Citrini, which I guess has the most Substack subscribers of any financial newsletter. They have 50,000 subscribers, and they were pushing the yield curve steepener as a Powell getting fired trade. I don't think that works. I don't really have a reason as to why it doesn't work, but it's anything that's like an obvious trade usually doesn't work. The curve is actually flattening today. It's in a bull flattener. The long end is doing pretty well. I think the thinking is that the long end will get tattooed on higher inflation expectations. The charts are not telling me that's going to happen. So I don't really think that's a good idea.
And you've seen this Fed $2.5 billion headquarters renovation thing, right?
I have. If you want to put that in context, JP Morgan built a $3 billion new headquarters on Park Avenue. I mean, it's a giant skyscraper. They built a giant skyscraper for approximately the cost it takes to remodel this rinky-dink building in Washington, D.C. It's insane.
So we're just going to turn the Fed HQ into like a golden palace. Is that
Yeah.
That's the plan? Last thing on the Fed here, Kevin Warsh came out and said he believes the next Fed chair will maintain the central bank's independence from political pressure, even under the Trump administration. Are you buying that? Or as you like to say, are we getting Caligula's horse as the next chairman?
No, I think it's going to be Kevin Hassett, and I think Kevin Hassett is going to do his best to maintain independence. I think Warsh is right. Warsh isn't stupid. He knows he's probably not the lead horse in this race. He probably knows it's going to be Hassett, and he knows Hassett. And I think he's right in that assessment. By the way, I was in the office in Nashville, and they had CNBC on, and I watched his whole interview with CNBC. I wish Warsh would be Fed chairman. I like him a lot. He's a really smart guy, and he learned a lot in his first term as Fed governor. So I would prefer that it's Warsh, but Hassett isn't a terrible choice.
This next headline's a doozy. I'm sure you have thoughts on this. Private assets may soon be an option in 401ks should you invest. So Trump is reportedly poised to sign an executive order that would allow employees to invest in private assets through their 401k retirement plans. What do you make of this? How does this fit into your short private equity thesis?
Well, this is kind of a pre-bailout of the private equity industry is what this is.
It's like a kicking the can down the road kind of thing.
Yeah. I mean, Bessent knows how bad private equity is. Trump knows they're doing this to give private equity some runway to offload some of these assets. Like, and of course, it's terrible for the investors. Like, they're not thinking about the investors here. That's the crazy thing about it. Like, because, Joe Blow is going to see like Blackstone real estate fund in his 401k options, and he's going to invest in it, and then it's going to take a shit. And then he's going to be like, well, I can't sell this thing for 10 years and it's down 50%. So everybody is going to get screwed. But that's the point, isn't to help investors at all. If you're going to allow retail investors to invest in private equity, you should at least allow them to invest in hedge funds. Like, why not? Let them invest in Millennium. Let them invest in, Citadel. Like, that actually seems like a better option to me.
We got to talk Bitcoin because we're coming off crypto week. So a few things here. Trump media stock surges after acquiring $2 billion of Bitcoin. DJT opened 6% higher on Monday, and Trump media said exposure to the world's largest crypto now comprises 2/3 of its total of $3 billion in assets. Second point here, Michael Saylor's strategy owns 3% of Bitcoin in circulation after its latest purchase. So MSTR strategy acquired 6,220 Bitcoin worth about $740 million during July 14 to 20, which again was crypto week. And that resulted in the signing of the Genius Act, which aims to regulate stablecoins and effectively transform them from a security to a means of payment. I also want to rattle off a couple of Saylor tweets because they're pretty gold. First one from July 13, short Bitcoin if you hate money. And then a few days later, for the past 5 years, the only thing better than Bitcoin is more Bitcoin. What do you make of this mainstreaming of crypto? And speaking of the Genius Act, how much risk do you see this introducing to the financial system and to consumers, really?
I don't know. It was like 5 years ago that people were worried that Tether was going to blow up. The stable coins were viewed pretty skeptically back then, and now everybody loves them for some reason. Crypto goes in a 4-year cycle. We're getting close to the end of that cycle. The last downturn was in 2021. Maybe the cycle is prolonged a little bit, but I can say this for certain. There is going to be a crisis in crypto at some point in the next 12 months, for sure. A lot of it is due to leverage. People have been buying crypto, Bitcoin on leverage in huge size for the last year. And when that leverage unwinds, it is going to wipe a lot of people out. It's not a question of if, it's a question of when.
So Bitcoin's at about 118K. You recently wrote that you could see it going up to about 150 and then drawing down all the way to 60. You still stand by that?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, I could see that as well. Let's see. What does this mean for the dollar, actually?
Well, a lot of people, not so much the dollar, but a lot of people are talking about stable coins with respect to bonds. Because basically what stable coins do is they hold U.S. treasuries as sort of a backing for the stable coin. And so people have said, look, like maybe all these stable coins will provide a bid for U.S. treasuries. I think the numbers are too small. I think stable coins have about 40 billion of treasuries right now. That could be a little bit low, but you're not. I don't see a situation where stable coins get to the point where they're providing demand for like 1 trillion of T-bills.
Let's talk a little small caps for our main topic. I want to talk about something you wrote in your latest Jared Dillian letter. You said, these are the kinds of situations I get interested in when something peaked 20 years ago and nobody cares about it. I say that it is suffering from benign neglect, situations where things can't get any worse, and you have all this free optionality in case the trade starts to work. When the trade works, the outperformance will be large. Can you run me through your thought process on small cap value and why you think it should be a part of portfolios moving forward?
Small cap and value are very hated. That part of the style box hasn't worked in 21 years. There's a lot of fundamental reasons for that. But also, we live in a world where basically everybody owns the top 7 stocks and nothing else. I don't know what's going to cause that to unwind, but like I said, you have this free optionality. Small caps aren't really going down, and you can kind of hang out in small cap value and wait for the trade to work. So I'm a big proponent of doing that.
So basically, if you park money in small caps right now, you're not going to blow yourself up at the moment.
No.
Gotcha. Anything else on markets you want to talk about before we go to the week ahead?
Nope.
Not that we talk earnings very much, but there's some pretty big names reporting this week, including Tesla and Google on Wednesday. There's also new and existing home sales for June, initial jobless claims, and durable goods orders data set for release. Am I missing anything else? Powell and Bowman are speaking on Tuesday at a Fed banking conference. Think anything will come of that?
No, I think it's going to be a pretty good, quiet week. It's a good week for me to go to Vegas. So
that's right. You excited for that?
Yeah.
Nice. Okay, taking it back to bodybuilding. It is just past 2:20. I need to go renew my gym membership at Hard Bodies. Later, Jared. I'll talk to you soon.
See ya.